What are you to do when you're a husband or a wife and your marriage has grown cold? How do you begin to rekindle the warmth? Is it something that you can do here now? Is there a conversation that you need to have? In some cases, do you need to get away?
Yeah. Well, and what do you mean by growing cold? I mean, you're not talking about a breach of trust. We're talking about kind of like your day-to-day life has kind of caused you to drift apart, parenting and young children, whatever it is, it's just kind of crept up and you've drifted apart. Right. And it sounds like we have somebody who wrote in, and it sounds like one of them really wants to connect, wants to feel desired, is trying his best to do what he thinks is the right, the path forward, but it's not being reciprocated. It doesn't sound like it's really even being accepted. And there's just kind of a clash of expectations. So
well, the wife is saying what we really need to do is go on a vacation. And he's saying, well, that's not in the cards right now because financially they can't swing it. So what is this couple to do? What are we to do?
Are you at a dead end if you can't go on a vacation?
Right.
And reconnect.
What are some of the things that are under the surface there?
Right.
Well, we're going to explore that on the other side. Speaking of vacations, Selena, I think we might be due for one. We are recording this, so you're going to watch this on Tuesday. Let me tell you, when you're watching it on Tuesday or listening, we recorded it last night.
It's been a few weeks, okay? Because we've had just craziness happening. All good stuff. It just feels like spring has sprung, and so has everything in our schedules and life. And here we are.
And our childcare plan A with my parents, they went on a vacation.
Well, and then they got sick, so.
Yeah, that too. I'm being obnoxious.
Just kidding.
Yeah, so that's changed things. And then, it's just, life is so full and good.
Yeah.
Yours is probably full too. So that's why we're thankful that you give us your time. You lend us your ears to hear. What we pray would be godly wisdom that would help encourage you and help you grow in your marriage. Yeah. So if you don't know who we are, I'm Ryan. This is my lovely wife, Selena. We are the Fredericks. We do Fierce Marriage on Tuesdays. And ideally, Fierce Parenting somewhere on Thursdays or thereafter, thereabouts in the week. All for the glory of God by his grace so that it might help and edify you, building fierce families for the glory of Christ. All right. So we're going to dive into this question because it's a long question. And he actually said he doesn't expect us to read it verbatim, but I'm going to because I want to.
There's a lot of things
he's uncovering a lot in this question.
Yeah.
And it gives it. So we got a lot of jump off points in there.
Well, a lot of couples I think can identify or kind of grab onto what's happening. And
okay, so here we go. It says, hello, I have listened to probably one half of your podcasts and we have a box set of your books. I really like the content and have enjoyed reading and working through it. Thank you. I feel like so much of it is speaking directly to me. We have been married for 13 years and we have 2 children. I own a business and work full time. She works 2 to 3 days a week part-time. Like most other families, we are busy. What did we just say? Amen, brother. However, I'm having a hard time getting my wife to engage in prioritizing our marriage with me. I really love her and desire her, but I feel alone in that. I feel like to her, I am a source of income, an errand runner, co-parent, a personal chef, landscaper, garbage man, etc. I do not feel like I'm desired outside of making ends meet, helping her raise children, and keeping up the house. I'm hesitant and reluctant about bringing up my feelings on it because it usually results in a fight with her pointing out all of my flaws and how I need to fix them. According to her, it is my job/role to correct the issues in our marriage, and that will lead to increased emotional intimacy between us, which will then lead to her willingness to meet my needs. While I do agree I should work on myself, I feel like my needs are being held over my head based on my ability to provide her what she wants. Needless to say, physical intimacy is nearly non-existent, and when it does happen, it's duty sex or feels like a burden on her. Our past issues are largely communication-based and work-related, which I have gotten better with and continue to work on. We both need time away from our kids and busy schedules to connect, and we know this. However, getting a babysitter and going to dinner or a night away isn't good enough. It's expectations of me booking elaborate vacations that we just can't financially afford. How do I get quality time with her to relax without spending $5,000 to $10,000 on a trip? We want to go on a vacation with our kids this summer too, which again will cost $5,000 to $10,000 based on ideas she has sent me. This is also stressful because, of course, I want to go on an awesome trip, but it isn't wise financially. I don't feel like I can be loved, respected, and desired unless I am spending tons of money. I feel an immense amount of pressure providing a lifestyle to her that isn't realistic for our income level, but I also feel if I don't provide it, my needs will never be met. When I try to communicate this, she shuts down, and I end up being the one apologizing for my faults. I just don't know what to do and can't do it for the rest of my life. financially or mentally. Okay.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. And I think a lot of couples can identify, at least with certain points of this. I think all of us have maybe felt like him, or we've been her at one point, right? Like we've acted in such a way that has not, been honorable to one another,
right.
that has, held each other's faults over one another. The Bible speaks clearly about these things, but it definitely feels like she's consuming something, and that is creating some discontentment, wrong desires.
It's really, really hard to say. And this is the big caveat with all these questions,
right.
is that we don't hear even both sides. So it'd be one thing to sit in a room with these folks,
right,
a husband and wife, and see the body language toward each other, to hear their words with the tones and inflections, to hear her side of the story. And so what I think we can do here is hopefully help this couple, which, by the way, we didn't get a name, but thank you for writing in. We are hoping to help you if this is you. But also to speak kind of generally to, like you're saying, this trend that is not uncommon.
No.
And so maybe take some comfort from that here we are, Ryan and Selena. We have had seasons in our marriage where we have grown cold. Now, I'm happy to say that those are fewer and further and further and further in between. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the last time we had maybe it wasn't that too long ago.
It wasn't cold. I just think we missed each other. Like we weren't having enough time. And so it was like, I still love you, but I feel like we're far away from each other.
Right. And we've gotten better at communicating proactively when we start to feel that coldness setting in. Like, hey, I feel like this is getting this way.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Feeling the drift, feeling disconnection.
And so I think that comes with time. It comes with maturity. Frankly, I think it comes with age. I feel like age has helped a lot with me. Like, I don't know.
I know, finally.
Yeah. Grow a few wisdom hairs, and apparently it works. So just take that general comfort. So the only thing we can do is really speak as if we were in your shoes. Like if I were in this husband's shoes, this is how I would approach this. And so I would start with this understanding, and this is just the observation we can make, is they're missing one another, both missing in terms of they've lost their connection, but they're speaking past one another.
Right. So it doesn't really feel like they're not really addressing the problem.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to, but
he's trying to, but she's not.
The solutions she's offering,
they're not the right solutions for the problem, I don't think.
Sure. And so the wife, for whatever reason, does not feel attached. She feels disconnected, and her needs aren't being met. Which we have to just assume that, because in my experience, talking to you, obviously being married to you, not just talking to you, but being married to you. And working alongside other couples is, in general, wives don't grow cold for no reason.
Yeah.
And if it's not an outside influence, like you're mentioning that you were alluding to earlier, it's something in the marriage has begun to grow cold.
Sure.
Also, the husband feels disconnected. Clearly, he's articulated this, and his needs aren't being met. And he's expressed that to her. They do want to get time together, but the kind and the quantity of that time
type of
isn't available to them that would actually, in their view, help them. So I think that's an accurate characterization of the problem.
Yeah.
In this case, it doesn't seem that there's any affairs or anything like that, or infidelity that needs to be addressed. He said it's basically around time, and time management and his job, which again reinforces what I just said, that they've grown cold for reasons. So here's the big thing that I really want to say, and then we're gonna get to the heart of it. The big thing is this: is if you can't connect at home, you can't find a way to connect at home, vacationing is a false hope.
Yeah.
Like it's a false hope. You're going to go, you're going to have a good experience. You're going to have what Selena calls maybe a mountaintop experience, or a camp, like that camp high.
Summer camp high.
And you will cruise, but if you don't figure out a way to fix the home rhythms, the priorities, whatever issues got you to this place, the vacation is a false hope. I think a getting away, but what
are you doing in that time, right? I mean, there's a whole argument of like being a mom and getting the me time. Well, me getting my nails done and a facial or whatever is not going to like fill my soul as 30 minutes in the Word undistracted would, right? Like, so what exactly are you doing with that time? I think, the weekend to remember with family life, they do those things and couples get away for the weekend, but there's intentional activities and things that they're doing. So like going on vacation and just spending money and doing activities, is that really like the legitimate path forward.
Right. And what you're getting at is that something needs to happen to the bedrock of a marriage for it to be able to take on water again and allow growth. See, what the vacation is proposing is that you're going to the store, you're buying a really nice potted plant. You're putting that plant on the bedrock, or you're taking it out of the pot, putting it down and giving it some water, and you're expecting that thing to take root. Now, it's going to look great. It might even smell good. It might even give you some fruit, but it's a matter of time until that thing dies.
Right.
What you need to do is change the bedrock, or that soil. You need to cultivate that soil. Mm-hmm. You need to begin working the soil so that it will begin to sustain life, as opposed to just importing life and hoping that life sticks.
Well, yeah, because you can't live in vacation mode, clearly.
No.
Like, that's just not...
No.
Nor would you want to. I mean, I don't know.
There's so much beauty to be had. And so the encouragement here is, okay, we see you. We've been you in many ways. Now, think about this in terms of cultivating your soil.
Yeah, so what are the things that you need to cultivate?
Yeah. So I'll talk to the husband here. This will take some leadership on your part, because it sounds like that she's grown cold. You're going to need to persevere even in the middle of the coldness. You're going to need to grow some thicker skin, I would say, for a season.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It doesn't mean you are blocking her out, but just, don't let her words carry the same weight.
Yeah. Just be resilient and know that it's only a matter of time, I think, until, she starts warming up. I'll talk to the wives in a minute.
Yeah. So as a husband, put your headship hat on and never take it off. And lead and love your wife by pressing through to this, what we're about to say here. The first step is to acknowledge your mutual goals. You both you want the same things. You want connection. You want memories. You want
a vibrant, life-filled marriage.
Yes.
And you want oneness and unity.
And I would even venture to say that you both want financial wisdom as well.
Yeah.
Like
I guess.
Ideally, like if I'm hoping that your wife is rational in this regard, and that you'll be able to lay it out, and you'll want the same things in terms of your finances too. So you need to acknowledge that you have mutual goals, lead her in that conversation. Okay. And then make a conscious choice together to say, yes, this soil has grown barren.
Yeah.
It's like the desert, when the desert dries out, the salt flats, and it's all cracked. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
Right.
It's grown barren. It's not been watered. We need to start watering this thing, and you need to get on the same page and say, well, yes, this is the case, and this is how we're going to fix it. We're going to begin cultivating.
What do you mean by cultivate? Because I'm thinking of examples. So you're saying that the man needs to lead this. We need to have these goals and all those things. I mean, sounds nice, but honestly, the wife needs to cultivate some. I don't care. I'm just saying it straight, but there's got to be some contentment. There's got to be some gratefulness. There's got to be some, hey, honey, I recognize that like this may not be in the works to go on this huge vacation, but it's a desire of mine to do this with you. Like, could we save up for it? Like, I just think
you're talking as if they are 10 steps down the line.
Sure. And I think
she's not even having those conversations.
So cultivating your soil for the wife, I think, means developing some gratefulness and contentment.
Yes. Yeah.
And gratefulness for her husband, and contentment in her situation, and some faith and trust that maybe God is allowing this time so that they can grow together.
Yeah. But it's like asking, if she's not even seeing, him as necessarily even
right. Again, there's things that are being consumed.
A husband, she's seeing him as something else, because she's not to the affections that.
Yeah, there's no connection. So it's just a roommate kind of status. And
so I think you're maybe you're assuming that they are further along. Then that doesn't have to take forever to get to that point.
No,
but they need to have some conversations first, and that's I think where I'm gonna.
What's the end goal? Like,
Well, the end goal is you want to have a close marriage. You want to have a thriving marriage. So you asked about cultivation. Here's what I'm going to recommend: is that you communicate your desires to each other, but you do it in a slightly different way. Now, we've written books on communication. We talk about this. If you can just talk through things, it is like. I mean this, it's like a silver bullet, because you can actually keep talking, keep expressing, sharing meaning through the noise, get to the signal. And so we're big proponents of talking. Now, how you go about communicating, I think, can get a little bit tricky when you have a situation where the coldness is here. And so what I'm going to encourage this couple to do, and you other couples who are maybe in this situation, or if you find yourself in this situation, is to go about this by asking questions and not adding. So
not proposing answers like I am.
Solely by asking questions. So in other words, you're communicating what you need and want, but only in response to being asked.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes some ground rules.
So an example.
If I say to Selena, we need to talk through this stuff. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you questions about you.
Yeah.
But then you then have to play ball and ask questions about me.
Okay.
And so we're going to sit down and here's the ground rules. We're not going to respond or react. We're just going to ask questions. So I'm going to say, how have I loved you well? You say, you know what? You've been a horrible husband. Okay. I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to get defensive. I'm not going to start.
Well, you may feel some things, but you're not going to respond. You're going to listen.
I'm just going to listen.
Right. Okay.
And so ground rule is don't respond or react.
Internal responses.
Of course, you're going to have some internal response, but that's not for now to express. Yes. We'll get to express that another time. The second ground rule is be honest. Mm-hmm. Do your best to answer the questions clearly without getting them derailed or muddled.
Yeah.
Okay. So take time to articulate your answers. Mm-hmm. Another ground rule is both you have to acknowledge the intent is to hear and to be heard, but you can only be heard by being asked. So you're acknowledging the intent. I need to understand you better. I'm not trying to express my frustration. I'm not trying to express all the ways that you failed me.
Right.
I'm trying to hear what you like. You see how the orientation is completely different. I'm no longer oriented on Ryan. I'm oriented on Selena. And the final ground rule, if you will, it's more of a statement where you look at each other and say, I want what's best for you and what's best for us. That's why I'm here. Mm-hmm. I want what's best. It's amazing to me how many couples don't even get that far. They don't acknowledge that, hey, we actually want the same thing. We want a marriage that's healthy and strong.
Right. And somehow we're fighting about which way to get there.
Right. And completely disconnected in the process.
Right.
And so here are the questions. Now you're both going to ask these of each other. And by the way, this is based on a episode we did a few weeks back. It's called, I think something to the effect of why check-ins are so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the questions you're going to ask. How can I love you well? What makes you feel most loved? What is one way I've loved you well in the past week? What is one way I've not loved you well in the past week? What is one thing you'd like me to do daily with the sole intention of loving you? And what is one thing I can do weekly with the sole intention of loving you?
Well, and I think it's important, like you said, when you're talking to each other, you're not throwing this in each other's faces. Like tone matters. Humility matters. And yeah, I had some other thoughts, but I can't think of them right now. So you want me to ask you?
Well, I mean, if you think that would be helpful, I don't assume that it would be helpful.
Well, I'm just thinking of this couple, right? And what if she says, well, what makes me feel most loved is when we go on a big vacation.
So be it. Okay. So let's say she says that. But, now, you move into the next phase.
Okay.
So this is you're asking questions and now you have to reiterate back.
So what I hear you saying is
that I can love you well by X. So over the next few weeks, I will Y to that end. Now, and then we'll get into the vacation piece here in a minute. Right. But I would feel loved by you in the next week is if you booked tickets to Hawaii.
It feels manipulative. I'm sorry, but it doesn't feel like you're loving each other well.
That's a bit of a caricature, but say that's where it goes. Here's what I would do as a husband to respond is I would say, I hear what you're saying and I want to love you well. And what I hear you telling me is that in order for you to feel that, I need to buy tickets. So what I'm going to do over the next week is I'm going to try to show you why that's not a good idea for us so that you can understand that I still love you, even though I can't go and buy tickets for you.
Yeah.
Or, and we'll get into this in a minute. Okay, over the next week, I'm going to be looking for ways to cut our budget. Because if that's what it takes, sweetheart, I'll forego groceries for me. Like, okay, and we can all agree, like, if that's the thing, then this wife has some things to work on.
Yeah,
like,
there's just indicators of deeper issues.
Yes.
And so.
But the point is not to fix, it's not to enable. I don't want to say, like, you have to just bend the knee to whatever the person says. Again, you have the goal that you want what's best for each other. You want what's best for your marriage. And so if it takes something like this to break the ice, but here's the thing is that I got to answer the questions too. Mm-hmm. And if I said, I would feel loved if we could have a conversation every night, or I would feel loved if you would acknowledge that I've provided for you. I would feel loved if you expressed a few things that you're thankful for.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I just, it just still feels like I can't shake the manipulation here of I would feel loved if, or, this is one way that, and so I get it. I get it.
Here's the thing is if a couple is if they're bent on manipulating one another,
right.
Like what questions are going to fix this?
I guess it's all about the approach and what are you trying to accomplish?
What are the
like
ground
you
rules?
said, yeah.
The first ground rule is the fourth one is that you're saying you want what's best for you and best for us.
Well, and what qualifies as best, right? And so,
listen to some other podcasts. We talk a lot about, Christ being best. Christ is best.
Christ is best. Christ is Lord.
Okay, so you're setting the ground rules. You're asking these questions. Mm-hmm. You're then reiterating. You're responding.
Yeah.
And I want to make this clear. It's not that you're going to now do everything. You're not going to meet their list of demands. It's that you're responding in a way. So what I hear you saying is X.
Yeah.
The best way I can respond to that is by Y.
Right.
And if that means, yes, I'm going to write you a love note. I'm going to do the things that you're asking me to feel loved. But if you're asking for things I can't do, then you need to work out why you can't do it and then commit to finding out a way forward through that. Right. It's not just, can't do it anymore, so I guess we're done.
Right. We can't just the covenant does not allow you to just
yeah, and husband, wife, whoever's not getting their thing, you don't get to dictate the terms of this covenant. You have to work it out together. It's not covenantal to dictate.
There are no dictators in covenants.
No, and
there are
by the way,
heads and helpers, but there's
no out for this. Yeah. So you know what? If you want to live in a happy marriage, you should better come to the table and work this out together, both of you. And then after that, here's the challenge. Hopefully, it's been a good conversation. You're going to hug, you're going to kiss, and you're going to end this thing in prayer. Yeah,
just the resistant hug.
The Oscar.
No, terrible reference.
It's the resistance. You're gonna kiss. You're gonna hug. You're gonna kiss. You're gonna end it in prayer. And what are you praying for? Dear Lord, I just pray that you'd fix my wife. Not that. You're praying for the Lord to keep your heart soft and to show you ways to honor Him by loving each other.
Yeah.
And you're going to humble yourself before God and say, we cannot do this unless your grace helps us. And then the prescription going out the door is do it again next week and the week after and the week after and keep going until that thing warms up and you start communicating and you start connecting, you start loving each other again. Now I want to address the latter half of this, the vacation piece. It appears that you're in a very tough spot because you've got kids. I don't know how old the kids are. I tend to think they're maybe, not young, but not out of the house, obviously. 13 years married is not young, but you're not through the weeds, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of couples, if they're going to struggle, it's going to be years like 7 to 15. That's going to be the real tough time because you've got young kids at home. You're kind of you're off the launch pad, so to speak, but you're not yet into orbit. So it's the heavy burn.
Yeah.
Right. If that thing's going to crash and come down in flames, it's right then. So you need to recognize that. And so what I would say to this husband is invite her into that adventure and say, sweetheart, we started this thing 13 years ago. We have 2 kids together. We're building a life together. We are in the middle of it right now. And I want you to know that I see you in that. I see us. I see what God is doing. Yeah. And I'm excited for where we're headed. Yeah. And that's a great assurance, I think. And so I don't know, as a wife, I think I would feel seen. I would feel heard. Like, okay, you see where I'm at. Like, I don't need to fight for this all the time. I think there's a big, you're very disarming in just the acknowledgement. Yeah. So that's the prayer, is that it would be disarming to that. And then you can start addressing the vacation thing. You see how that is all the way at the end of this. Yeah. And here's what I had to say, brother to brother, whatever, couple to couple. The vacation you go on next year is the vacation you saved for today. Yeah. So going on vacation by financing it with credit cards, with debt, with deferred, home maintenance, things like that. It's not wise. We're treating a luxury, which by the way, it is a luxury, a massive luxury at that, to take time off to go to a foreign place or to go to a nice hotel, whatever. Massive luxury. To forego that and treat that as if it's a necessity. I think it's unwise. It's unwise, especially if you can't afford it. So, come up with a plan to get there by next summer. And so again, the vacation you go on next year is the one you save for today. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, from what it sounds like, is the pie in the sky kind of dream vacation is $10,000. I think for anybody, that's going to be an expensive vacation.
Yeah.
And so you got to see that for what it is.
Right.
And so what I would encourage you to do to help her see that is to come up with a plan to help get there by next summer, right? So this summer, coming up with 10K is going to be tough unless you've got a bunch of money socked away, but then it's usually saved up for like an emergency fund or long-term investment type stuff. Okay. So it's not necessarily good to take it out of there unless you really can. But you say, okay, we're going to start saving for it today. And so 75 weeks from now, that's a year and a half because we're recording this in April. So summer vacation would be about a year and a half from now. We're going to try to have 10K in the bank for vacation. This means, wife, because you have expressed this desire and we cannot do it today, we're going to now commit to saving that. Now, what I need your help with is we have to save $133 a week for the next 75 weeks to get where you want to be. Now, if she wants to participate in that, then she's going to need to see like that's $500 a month.
Right.
That now you're going to have to come up with outside of your normal budget. And so you can say, okay, how can we do this together?
Yeah.
This helps you plan, but it also shows her what she's asking you to provide and giving her very clear, daily indication of what that cost is. Because what is it? That's roughly about $20 a day.
Okay.
So that's an extra hour a day. If you make $20 an hour, you're working an hour a day solely so you can go on vacation in a year and a half. And then if you can't save the money, the vacation is not wise. Like if you look at it and say, there's no way we can part with $500. We don't have that kind of disposable income. Well, then you have your answer. Either find a cheaper vacation,
right,
or save less over a longer period of time.
I don't think it's fair to say this is the only way that we can connect. I just don't think it's fair. I'm sorry. It's just manipulative to say,
I agree.
I need to have a vacation with you to be able to reconnect. It's just
right.
So what would be the godly response? What does scripture say about any of this? Like Proverbs chock full of just like, what foolish fools do with money versus what wisdom calls us to do with our finances. We just did a couple episodes back talking about finances and how we can steward them and honor the Lord in what he's given us. And I do think that there's just this culture that's been cultivated around getting away like from your life and to have some mountaintop experience. And I don't know. I'm just,
and that's where God you'll finally like reach your happy.
And I guess I just want to encourage you, like pray and ask God that he would help you cultivate gratefulness and contentment in your own heart and in your own life. Because if you're always chasing something out there, you're always going to miss what's happening right here. And there's beauty, there's goodness, there's joy. All the things that you could ever hope for are literally, you can find them in Christ. You can find them in the Lord. And so your husbands and wives, like, I don't buy it. I don't buy the fact that, well, we need to go on a vacation to be able to connect.
Yes, I 100% agree with you, which is why I started with the notion that I did, which is if you can't connect at home, a vacation is a false hope.
Yeah.
Because if you can't connect at home, you're not finding contentment in Christ. Mm-mm. You're not learning to love one another through the days,
right?
The daily grind.
And we've all been there, which I guess is a clear pathway to me as to why we would ask each other these questions. Like, hey, we're obviously dealing with some discontentment. We are not connecting. We are not intimate. There's a lot of things that are just not. You're just, you feel like I am just basically using you for money, for experience, to fix the house, do whatever. And
personal chef, apparently.
Yeah. So it's, as a wife, like if you felt like that, I would want to hear that. And that would be hard to hear. And I'd be like, wow, okay, how can I, first of all, make you not feel like that? Not how can we connect and go on a vacation? I mean, like, come on, let's put the spotlight where some of the problems are. So maybe I'm cranky tonight. I don't know, but I can't get off of this feeling like, I don't want to explain away the ungratefulness. Like you have a lot to be grateful for. You have a home, you have a husband, you have 2 children that I'm assuming are healthy. Like start there with the gratefulness list.
Amen.
And anyways, I'm just going to, I don't think I'm going to say anything that's productive, but I would just encourage someone to don't say the answer can only be A, B, or C. Like, be open to where the Lord is leading you in terms of unity and oneness and how you can get there. It may look different, but trust that God is taking you on the path that he knows is best for your heart.
There it is.
He's always good. He is a good God.
Right. And so, I think so often we get in the weeds with these things. And I mean, a lot of these conversations we have are us working things out in real time. Yeah. And that's, to me, the very center of this is realizing that even in this, God is sovereign. And even in this, he is drawing you into him. And even in this, if you will accept his rebuke, husband, wife, both people in this side, it will be a means by which he sharpens you, he grows you, he brings you closer to him.
And closer to each other.
And if you do that together, it's inevitable that you will reconnect.
Yeah.
If one of you is bearing the burden and the other is not showing up, they're not praying, they're not prayerful, they're not humble before God, they're not humble before their spouse, then you will bear that burden alone and it will make you better. And Christ will still be Christ in that, and he will use it for your good and his glory. That's the promise. Yeah. And all of it, this other stuff is just peripheral stuff. But yeah, I think you're spot on that you don't want to just explain it away. I think you need to cultivate your soil. Don't expect a potted plant to grow on top of parched soil.
Right. Be willing to ask the questions. Be willing to show up humbly and listen.
Do the work. Yeah, do the work.
Exercise self-control and not just respond.
The bottom line is they're feeling disconnected, and there needs to be something
We've all been there. Yes.
Begin building that connection again. Listen, everything we've said, we haven't actually brought scripture into this passage. We've mentioned it a few times, themes in scripture. We haven't brought it in directly, but everything that we're saying is based on the person and work of Jesus Christ and who he is as revealed to us in the Word of God, namely the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament. And so if you don't have a saving knowledge of Jesus, who he is, what he's done for you, start there. Like, don't go and try to fix your marriage without Christ in the picture. Not only that, don't go and try to fix your marriage without Christ governing everything. He's not a spare tire in your trunk. Like, he is the one.
He's the engine.
He is the very engine. He is the vehicle. He is the fuel. He is everything. And so to that end, we recommend that you learn who Jesus is by talking to a friend who is a Christian. If you have one, say, let's read the Bible together. I recommend starting in the book of John. Go to a church. Maybe that friend has a church they go to that preaches out of the Bible. Go with them. Sit under the preaching of a good shepherd, a pastor who preaches out of God's word so you can learn it and have it fed to you. If you have a hard time finding either of those things, we have a website that has a church finder. It's thenewsisgood.com. We encourage you to check that out. It'll help you to that end. Let's pray. Father God, we love you. I pray for this couple. I pray that they would find clarity, they would find contentment in you, and they would find agreement and connection, and their marriage would begin to take steps. They would begin to take steps in their marriage toward flourishing, and that may those steps be based on wisdom. May those steps be spirit-led, and may they be rooted in obedience to you, in the honoring of their covenant that you've given them. I pray that they would find their way through this, that this husband who is clearly discouraged would find courage. He would find boldness. He would find the ability to lead. Give him some resilient, thick skin as he leads through maybe a rough patch to get to the other side. Lord, I pray that you would be with him every step of the way and that you would bless their marriage. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
If you're not aware, this podcast, our ministry, is supported largely by our patrons known as the Fierce Fellowship. If you want to find out what that is, go to fiercemarriage.com/partner. We would love to meet you in there. With that said, this episode of the Fierce Marriage Podcast is
in the can.
And we'll see you again in about 7 days. So until next time.
Stay fierce.
My announcer voice.